It's the 4th day of February 2026, which is coming to an end. Well, in just a few hours, just a few less than 3 hours to go before the day gets to an end. And well, before the day ends, we edit together right here on Diamond TV's Diamond Live program, where we look at some of the biggest news stories of the day and also interact and speak with the different newsmakers from the country and beyond. Welcome to tonight's edition. My name is Chimweka. Chileshe.
My name is Andrew Mwansa. Welcome.
There's so much to look at tonight. Thank you so much for making time to join us on this edition. It's midweek already, gentlemen.
Hump Day edition of the show. How are you doing today, gents?
Well, we can't wait to finish off the day with our viewers that always make time to join us. And I was just looking at a post here by some politician who says, "Nadumpe na ishote," because of high electricity tariffs, there's load shedding. Well, not exactly load shedding, but he says he is unable to find fuel all across Lusaka.
Which politician was that? Is it Mr. Mausampa? It sounds like something you'd say.
Of course.
Oh, it was him? Oh, okay.
You know him so much. You know him very much, right?
Well, I mean, I think he's done something like that before. He's actually been taking a picture with his vehicle, the lights on.
I mean, I was just looking at that post just before we started the show.
And I think one of the posts not so long ago, he said he had to, park his vehicle and take his kids to school. I don't know how he planned on doing that, but he wanted to use a different mode of transport. So that's why I thought of him, because it's something that it sounds like something that he would do. By the way, we forgot to congratulate Andrew on Monday for being the creative of the month at Diamond Media.
I mean, you scared me for a bit. And I was like, what has happened this time around? What has happened? Did you get an appointment somewhere?
But why would you have a heart attack?
Yeah,
if Andrew has gets an appointment, why would you have a heart attack?
I mean, you said we forgot to congratulate. So not a heart attack in a bad way. Figurative speech. I was just going to be so surprised. I mean, I didn't know about this information, but yeah. Now that we know, we should have congratulated him on Monday for being the creative of the month.
It slipped my mind. I told myself I'll do it, then I don't know how I forgot.
Andrew Mwansa is full of surprises. One time he'll be here, the other time he'll be in Kasama. So, who knows?
In the back of a van somewhere. Anyway, let's get on with today's show. We start off with Today in a Snap. We get on with Today in a Snap, and well, if you're watching us online, you've probably seen there's a big question there around whether President Hichilema deserves a second term. Well, this question has been inspired by a press briefing that happened earlier today, where we got to see a civil society organization officially endorse President Hichilema for the August 2026 election, and they are calling on you as a Zambian to not change the current government, to maintain the current government for the sake of stability going beyond 2026. And that is why we're asking that particular question. And OCiDA are the organization that had the press briefing earlier today. And let's take a listen to what they had to say and the reasons for what they had to say.
It is exactly 90 days before Zambia heads to the general election to elect its 8th president. An election is the people's power to choose leaders and policies through voting. It is important because it gives citizens a voice, ensures accountability, anchors democracy based on consent and not force. Our Civic Duty Association, OCiDA, a non-governmental organization, has since endorsed the United Party for National Development, UPND, in the August 2026 general election, arguing that the UPND has restored stability in the country and that there is need to ensure continuity of the gains that have so far been achieved.
Stop it midway. The consequences of the gains that have been made from 2021 to date will will not be appreciated. So it's in the view of this that OCiDA recognizes the need for continuity in terms of, this government.
According to OCiDA, the previous administration never cared for the people.
Lawlessness that was there, and we should not forget where we're coming from, ladies and gentlemen. And it's incumbent upon you as journalists to remind our people over and over where we're coming from. Do we want to go back? Absolutely not.
OCiDA has also made recommendations to the government, among them resolving the impasse surrounding the burial of the former president Edgar Lungu.
But you see, this matter has been complicated by some overzealous politicians who want to make capital out of a matter that doesn't need to gain capital over.
We randomly spoke to some Lusaka residents on whether they will vote in August 2026 and how they rate the UPND so far.
Yeah, I'm voting. But at the moment, nilibe muntu wamele ninga choosing oti ni voted. But I'll vote. First district, katufika ta vote. Ta vote la mundu wao tukiona kuti ali capable of ruling as well or not. So tufika vote.
Vintu apa mwanzi nvo lubana. So tuna vintu vibuleko in order at least. Maunga ni odula. Vintu vambiro ken vokwe. So tuna at least vingareko in order che. Kuvota kwe beti vota mene.
Pudis Chota for Diamond News.
Thank you, Prudence, for that report. So she covered that. By the way, we'll be speaking with the OCiDA spokesperson, Mrs. Simwinji Simwinji, tonight on Diamond Live. So look out for a conversation with him. If you have any advanced questions, feel free to utilize our social media platform, Diamond TV Online, where we are streaming live at the moment, where we will talk about some of the issues that he raised as to why people should maintain President Hichilema in August 2026. But before we even speak more into that, the last part of that particular story, this particular package that we're just from airing out, gets towards individuals speaking their mind on who they'll vote for or lack thereof heading into August 2026. And it probably represents the perspective of a number of people who seem undecided. They do not know who they're going to vote for. They're really not sure. And this is just with a few months before the August 2026 election, and people don't even know. I don't know if this was the case in 2021.
Certainly not. I mean, I think it presents very different dimensions of what happened in 2021. I mean, it was clear who was going into the race in 2021.
Who the forerunner was, the forerunners.
The information was very clear. People knew that they were going either to vote for President Hichilema or, late President Lungu at the time. And, of course, there were many other opposition.
14 others.
But in this particular case, I mean, I know that there's going to be many others that have expressed interest to contest the 2026 election in August. But again, it presents a very critical, situation for the opposition, because in one breath, it feels like all opposition political parties will unite ahead of August, and so maybe they will field in one candidate. So people seem to be confused. They don't know, is there only one candidate from the opposition? Are they going to... Well, those that are voting for President Hichilema, I think it's been clear. We've just got an endorsement now from OCiDA. So there's many people that also suggest they're still going for President Hichilema in August. But those that still feel that they do not know, I think are just sort of waiting to see who's going against the president, in August. So there seems to be that not clear picture, if you like to put it that way.
Well, I think what the people that we spoke to clearly don't know. We wouldn't know if this is this is for the majority of the people. Obviously, there are those that know exactly who they're going to vote for. in this election. They've got their own reasons. The ones we spoke to said what they were, not comfortable with. One of the, persons spoke of the fact that the milimi was expensive and vintu vavuta. The other one says that definitely we're going to vote, but I'm going to vote, but I'm not so sure who I'm going to vote for just as of yet. But I think we can't use the three people that were our sources to quantify how the entire country feels like. Obviously, there could be some people that clearly knows who they are, going to vote for. And people have got their own reasons to why they will vote. Others will vote because they feel that things are better. Others who vote out the government because they feel that they haven't delivered on what their campaign promises were. So, yeah, people have got different reasons why they go to the polls.
But just also, now that you have an NGO or civil society making such an endorsement, it brings it back to a conversation we had on Wednesday. We're talking about this where we saw the Ministry of Information and Media, PS, giving a perspective on individuals that he felt should have been neutral, but calling on the opposition to get together. We saw a press briefing to address that particular issue. Here we have a non-governmental or a civil society organization making an endorsement. Obviously, we will probably want, if we get a press briefing, welcoming the endorsement, or probably will not get that. But imagine if this was a civil society organization endorsing the opposition or calling for the opposition to get together. We see so many insinuations. These people are not neutral anymore. These people are being paid by the opposition. And we've seen this even happen for even some of these civil society organizations or these groupings that have had some of these positions for years. We can look at, for example, the Oasis Forum. Look at how they've been dragged into the political mud. They've been accused of, siding with the opposition. When we also saw that even when the current ruling party was in the opposition, they had a stance that at that time they got to agree with, but now that they're in power and they continue with their perspective of representing a certain group of people or speaking on behalf of a certain group of people, they are being dragged into the political mud and so on. But when we see others who side with the government of the day,
it's a different story.
It's a whole different story. And this, I guess, speaks towards the double standards that sometimes we see even coming from the politicians themselves.
But I think for me, the difference with the Council of Elders is because it's expected when someone is an elder. The reason in there is that they think much more ahead than most of the people. And what an elder does is that they offer wisdom, is that they offer advice that will not either be for one side and against. And so I understand the history of where the PS was coming from. That look, you claim to be a Council of Elders, and the Council of Elders must be able to offer advice on both sides. As you offer advice to the opposition to unite and remove a government, you must also offer advice on how the government must better their ways to ensure that they provide.
You see, Andrew, it's not just a Council of Elders. There's different examples we can give of institutions that were being seen as credible then, and today the people who found them credible want to discredit them. There's a number of neutral institutions, or at least as far as the public has understood. We can talk about, for example, Transparency International Zambia. They've given positions, and we've seen how they've been discredited by some members of the ruling party. We can give examples of, for example, we spoke about the Oasis Forum as another example. Even just monitors like the Christian Churches Monitoring Group, CCMG, we've seen some of the statements that have come out before. So it's not just about the Council of Elders.
Yeah.
We get to see this happen, and this should be a major part of our discourse. Even for those who are in the opposition now, they would heavily criticize some of these organizations and institutions. Today, they'll agree with them, they'll make reference to them, they'll quote them in some of the statements that they'll make. And that's why we talk about the double standards, which are seen on both ends, from the ruling party as well as from a good number of members of the opposition.
I think also, it must be understood in context that when an organization is speaking against things that align with things that the opposition is speaking about, they then find common ground. And so, for example, OCiDA Forum was fighting against Bill 7, the opposition was fighting against Bill 7, and so there was common ground that made the ruling party believe that these are coming from one point of view, which is true. But also I think what must be mentioned, like you rightly put it, Chimweka, that if my line of reasoning is aligning with the opposition, it doesn't necessarily make me an opposition political party. It just means that I don't agree with government on this position. And my reasoning must be respected that I don't agree with you. But I think we've seen from government, not only this government, but also previous governments, throwing the church in the mud. Even this particular government throwing the church in the mud, because I think at one point, Levin Gomad issued a statement that we will take OCiDA Forum as a political party. We will begin to treat them as a political party. When OCiDA Forum doesn't have political intentions, I don't think there's any member of the OCiDA Forum that is vying for political office. All they do is to offer critical checks and balances to a government of the day. And I think we must also be able to understand that OCiDA Forum is a forum of different organizations. There's a church there, there's NGOs there, there's the Law Association of Zambia there, and all these other organizations that are there. And so when they take a consolidated position on a particular matter, what you must do as a government is to be able to respect and heed to the counsel that these are given to you. And by the way, organizations like the OCiDA Forum have been there for a very long time. And I think they've been offering critical counsel to the government of the day. They were very much known for criticizing the third term bid, that President Frederick Chilua was going into. And I think from then they grew in terms of their influence. Even under the previous administration, they were so critical of the Patriotic Front government. And the UPND by then liked and supported the OCiDA Forum. Today, it's the same OCiDA Forum that is speaking, on some of the issues that they don't agree with them. And I think the least that the UPND can do is to be able to heed to the advice and respect.
So the bottom line here is really tolerance.
Tolerance.
Which will be, and even just when people are defending their views, I think it's also the words that they use and the manner in which they say all those things that people get to look at. But here's another thing that also stood out from that particular press briefing that is worth noting. Tomorrow marks 8 months since Zambia's sixth Republican president died. And this means that he remains unburied 8 months down the line. Today we're talking about 237 days. Gentlemen, this, oh my goodness. 244 days, actually, that's the correction there. I don't know if we're seeing light at the end of this tunnel, really.
Well, I had a very difficult interview on the eve of New Year. I was interviewing Pastor Joshua Banda. He was part of the people that had gone to South Africa to be a part of the mediating team that was going to speak to both government and the Lungu family to ensure that we get to fix this impasse that exists between the Lungu family and the government. I found it so hard as a young person to even fathom the fact that we have a president that died in June, 244 days, he still remains in the fridge. And we've gone on as a country like our father is not buried. And I think I asked a very critical question to him that, has the church gone to sleep? Because the church is seen over the years as a council that, that puts the country in the right direction and offers counsel in times of need, such as these ones. Now we've gone for 244 days without our Republican president, our former Republican president, being put to rest. The direction seems not to be so clear on when Satan is going to be put to rest. The issues are still in court, and the family and the government have continued to fight on who must bury the president.
I think the Attorney General, Umudilo Kavisha, did tell us that they, I think, have up to February, quite not sure the date to appeal, but I think come that day when the family must appeal, it still comes back to the same thing, gentlemen. It's about common ground. It doesn't, and I love the fact that the Attorney General mentioned in the first trial, in the first time that they went to court, he said, there is no winner, there is no loser. All we're trying to do is to ensure that we give the former president a dignified send-off. And how that dignified send-off must happen, according to government, it must happen through, the state taking over the funeral and all of that, and having him buried right here in his hometown. And it's even the family, even
in his home country.
His extended family, in terms of the Patriotic Front, do agree, in fact, that the former president must be buried here
and
in the country. But it now happens that there's been this standoff that doesn't seem to end.
And I think for me, we must blame ourselves as a people. Blame you, Chimweka, blame Cheswa, blame government, blame the Lungu family, because we
how are we to blame?
We need to act like humans. It's not possible that we can't sit on the table and agree over someone that has died. That yes, me and you, Chimweka, have our own differences, but someone has died. That person who's died must bring us together. And we thought that the death of former President Edgar Lungu would bring the family and the government together. But we're bad people. We failed to agree collectively as a country, because how are we roped in? How is Cheswa? How are Cheswa and I roped in? Let me explain to you. When the outside world is watching what we're doing, they're not looking at Hichilema. They're looking at us as a country. That Zambia, 244 days on, has failed to bury the president. They'll call you, Chimweka, from outside. Why have you failed to bury your president?
But the thing is, it's quite clear, because this falls back on our leaders on both ends, really.
We must take responsibility.
Obviously, there is the government in place,
well, in this
and
case,
there's
also
also
a few people that can take responsibility to this. There's only a few people that could take responsibility.
Gentlemen, it's the country at the end of the day, because if you're going to remove yourself from the equation of the country, then you're not being patriotic, because when anything happens, they are looking at Zambia.
And decisions are made on behalf of Zambians.
Yes.
So meaning, in short, what you're saying is it's the government to blame. Because
the government is you and me. The government is you and me.
Well, we have people elected to make these decisions on behalf of the people.
Let me ask.
So meaning, if we're saying it's a collective, meaning the Zambian people have every right to blame the government. I mean, because it's the government that ultimately make the decisions on behalf of the people.
Don't you think you've done your part enough to try and give your honest opinion about what must happen? I mean, even here, we're saying that the former president must be given a dignified send-off. He must be buried in his home country. Even the family, the extended family, including the family, say it's their wish that they bury the former president in the country. But because of a misunderstanding, and this is, let me quantify it, a political misunderstanding, differences that happened through politics, is what has led to the former president not being buried. You have done your part in asking the questions. How many government officials have we spoken to?
Maybe Andrew's,
we've done our part.
Perhaps Andrew's driving somewhere. Maybe there's
something that you need to do.
Maybe there's something that we as citizens should do. Is there something that we could do as citizens?
I feel I've done my part in my own commentary. I've done my part. I've asked the questions.
Well, clearly, our parts have not been enough.
Gentlemen.
Because you did no result.
I think we must agree that we failed as a country. Collectively, we failed to agree. We failed as a country to agree.
Do you think there's anything that we as a citizen can do about this?
And let me quantify why I'm saying that we failed collectively as a country. Government goes to negotiate with the Lungu family, and the negotiation doesn't work. Government was representing me and you.
And according to the family, the government have not met.
It's not the government of President Hichilema. It's the government of the Republic of Zambia. It's not the government of Tawakawana, government of whoever. It's the government of the Republic of Zambia that has failed. That government went to represent you and me. All right? We live in a representative, democracy, which means that we elect people to govern and make decisions.
And you know what else is interesting? The same government also represents that family because they're Zambians.
And of course, I'm saying collectively, as a people, we failed because even the government, the people that went, the people that the government went to speak with, are actually citizens of this country. And that's what I'm saying. We collectively as a country, we collectively as a people, we failed to agree. We failed to agree.
Including the family.
Being represented by government and the Lungu family.
But also, Andrew, when you talk about, yes, we understand it's government by the people, for the people, we need to understand that. But even as a people, we do not agree on everything. So even sometimes, even as decisions get to be made, yes, they can be made on behalf of the people, but doesn't mean that you agree. For example, Bill 7 went through. It's very clear that not everybody agreed on that. But it still went through. So it doesn't mean that just because that went through, then it's
good you said that.
Technically represents the aspirations of all the people.
So
you still have people who would disagree, even if a decision is made. You still have a certain group of people who would disagree, and it's been happening for so many years.
It's good you said that. The principles of democracy say that the majority always wins. All right?
Yeah.
And so if I don't agree with a certain decision that has been made, but the majority agrees, then the majority wins. That is the type of system we subscribe to as a country, which is democracy. And we all must agree. You have candidates participating in Chawama. The FDD candidate wins and the UPND candidate loses. Democracy entails that the one with the majority checks them off.
Now, here's an interesting one. And that's why there's also been another debate around public interest. Because that also came up even in the courts in South Africa. Yeah. Issues of public interest.
Overrides.
But then
individual interest.
That still comes into play when you talk about public interest. And I remember also speaking with the Attorney General when he came here on Diamond TV. The first time the matter was mentioned to be taken to court, we spoke with the Attorney General, and when you talk about public interest, it always brings up a whole debate, because what's the measurement?
How do you quantify public interest?
So, for example, even in this case, what's the measurement of public interest? Because you have, a certain group of people in this country who feel that, well, let the government do their job because he's a former president, he's entitled. You have a certain group of people who also say, let the family do what they want. I mean, we've also heard from some people saying, if the family want to even bury him in South Africa, let them do that. Some people are also saying that. They're saying, let the family make its decision. So then the big question is now on the public interest and what the quantification is of that.
I think the public interest in this case refers to the interest of the country. In the interest of the country, they won't put country, they'll put public interest. All right? What is the interest of the country in this whole issue? The interest of the country is that this is a former president whose umbilical cord is buried in Zambia. So he must be brought back to Zambia for him to be buried in a land where his umbilical cord, lies. And so that is the position of government. Who is government? Government is you and me, and all of us are swallowed in public interest or in government decision that is made reference to as a decision by the government. And so that is how you quantify, public interest. They would even say that you've seen some of the, police officers being retired in public interest. You would ask the question, how did you quantify? How did you arrive at a decision that this, was out of public interest? It was because government then was looking at the interest of the country. What is the interest of the country?
That's around the former president. Very briefly also, gentlemen, what we also got to see from today, President Hakainde Hichilema getting to welcome his Ghanaian counterpart from the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Here we're talking about President John Mahama, who arrived earlier today, around 15 hours. He was welcomed by President Hakainde Hichilema. The First Lady, the Zambian First Lady, was also was present, and so was the First Lady of Ghana as well. So he's got quite the lineup of activities while he's going to be in the country. He'll be here. We'll start tomorrow. Has got a big day as he's getting to address the Zambian Parliament, and he'll be tackling quite a number of issues over there. But also, there's going to be a number of discussions that will look at mutual commitments to advancing, Africa's agenda. He'll also be in the country as well. This is actually a reciprocation of a trip that President Hichilema also took in 2023, and he's here now to also pay a visit to Zambia and just follow up on some of the discussions that they made. And there was also a gathering that happened last year as well that they'll also be following up on, just to ensure that they are making progress for the benefit of the two countries.
Is that banquet for him?
Yes, there will be as well. There will be a state banquet as well in the course of his visit here.
Well, that's true, Chimweka. Like you already put it, President Hichilema did travel to Ghana some time back in July at the invitation of then President Nana Addo Dankwa. And obviously from there we did see that a number of MOUs were signed, over 5 MOUs on investments, on investments, on tourism, on mining, on youth cooperation, on energy as well. Those are some of the MOUs that were signed, and obviously we've seen that now the new president of Ghana is in the country, following up on some of those MOUs. But also seeing how the country can cooperate. For a fact that Ghana has been, we've shared bilateral relations with Ghana from a very long time, and trade between Zambia and Ghana have also been happening from a very long time, and Ghana still remains a very strategic, trade partner to Zambia. He visits Zambia less than 200 days before the elections. Obviously, this is part of the discussions that will be had, in terms of exchanging notes on how to run, to run a country in an election year. But also, I think what is more interesting is the fact that the biggest lesson Zambia can learn from Ghana is on how it has managed to run their gold mines. I was listening to an interview earlier on. They were speaking of the fact that Ghana has got so many kgs of gold reserves, within its country, and how they've managed to formalize, artisanal mining. Over 1 million jobs have been created in the artisanal, mining industry in Ghana, and I think this is a path that Zambia currently is trying to take to ensure that we make the most out of our gold. And I think there's so much we can learn from Ghana in terms of our mining industry and how to really capitalize on this new mineral that we've found, and making sure that we make the most out of it.
It'll be interesting to see what will also come out from all of this as the two heads of state get to meet and spend time together for the next couple of days. Lastly, today in a snap, today, the 4th of February, marks World Cancer Day. And the theme around today has been... By the way, sorry, before we actually move on, I just remembered, speaking of Ghana and Zambia, I think our relations even go beyond, issues of development in minerals and so on. Even musically, we have a connection. Just recently, some of the top artists in the two countries, respective countries, collaborated, Yo Maps and Stonebwoy. Stonebwoy, very big artist from West Africa, very, very big artist. And our very own Yo Maps have a song together. So wouldn't it be interesting if they perform this at the state banquet?
Is the song out yet?
It is out.
Oh.
It's titled I Wanna Eat.
I Wanna Eat.
Yeah, so right before they eat, they have their meal,
Oh, it'd be good to promote our artists.
Was it a hit song? I could have seemed to have missed
the song.
Really?
Yeah. Do you think it's a good song?
Well, I haven't, like I said, I haven't heard the song, but like Chimweka says, I think it would be a good way to promote
the two countries.
To promote the industry. To promote music. We see how much artists are promoted, especially during elections. Artists are now being used world over to sing for politicians when they're going to elections. I think it shouldn't just be around that time when they should be paid, because I know that they're paid very well when they're called to sing for campaign songs, and sometimes this is when you expect a lot of artists to cash in. It's like there's just a specific time when you wait for certain individuals, certain professions to cash in. Artists among them, I really don't know what's funny, gentlemen, but artists are amongst the people that are really going to cash in.
The selection of words is really...
During,
Are there any other professions that you think will thrive
in this time?
Well, I mean, I don't know about the different professions. All I could tell you is that there's always that time. There's always that time. If it's your time, it's your time. I mean, for us, it will be really our time to give people information. But, I mean, the election is the time that we will really not get tired of being on TV, but I think we will be giving people information on a daily basis. Look at how we performed in 2021. I mean, we literally went sleeping at
all right, Cheswa, I know we definitely get it, but one thing that people cannot get tired of is creating awareness around cancer and why it's important also for people to get screened, which was one of the messages from today as Zambia got to commemorate a World Cancer Day. We did see that the Ministry of Health, led by the Minister himself, Elijah Mchima, got to grace the occasion that happened in Chainda within Lusaka province. We saw that the area member of parliament, in Mr. Mike Mposha, was also present, and we saw a number of people getting screened. We're seeing a number of women. We know for women, cervical cancer, breast cancer, topping in terms of the number of cancers that people are getting to deal with. We saw some survivors also getting to speak and telling their stories. For men also, prostate cancer getting to lead and top this, very common, and people being encouraged to get screened early for early detection. And we cannot, stop emphasizing this. It's very important that we get to do that and ensure that we live healthier lives, longer lives as well, by just taking this seriously. I think cancer has really been a challenge for so many people. People have lost loved ones. People have passed on. And it just comes back to all of us here to play our role and ensure that we, most importantly, get screened early.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I have interacted with quite many women that have come out as survivors. They say, it's things like, oh, it's painful. I mean, just getting screened shouldn't be, painful. It should be about women having the information, and not just women, even the men, we are taught, I mean, you hear this commentary all the time. Dr. Mjajati always coming out in a very humorous way, but I think it comes out as one of the most, the one doctor who really educates the men when it comes to issues around prostate and early detection and so on. I mean, you're talking over 15,000 people dying annually. I think that's a very huge number that was given as a statistic.
So the 15,000 was how many people get to be, from my understanding, I think 15,000 was the number of people who get tested, people who they find with cancer.
Detected, right?
Who they detect with cancer, and then that eventually drops of the number of people who actually die from those statistics. Yeah.
But I mean, talking about what I think government has been able to do, I think it's when you look at some of the numbers here that I could see. I mean, SDG number 3, of course, talks about meeting the 2030 target of good health. I mean, there's just 4 years before we could hit the 2030 target. But I'm just scanning through the numbers of what we've been able to do, providing healthcare in the countries, provided about 35% of drug availability from 2021 to about 2025. Well, quite many hospitals that they've built, 279 via CDF, 115 mini hospitals. They've recorded 33 health centers built, 131 health posts. And
who has built that?
Well, the UPND government since 2021 and up to 2025, they have employed, or rather recruited, around 14,276 health personnel from 2022 to 2025, according to the statistics that we are availed to hear.
Well, maybe that's why people like Mr. Simwinji from OCiDA are endorsing President Hichilema. But is this the position of many other Zambians? Of course, we'll be able to see this from August 2026 after the election when people get to vote and through the decision that they'll eventually make. But we'll be joined by Mr. Simwinji from OCiDA on the other side.
Not to simply exist, but to move ahead, to rise up and achieve, to conquer. Introducing Kung Fu Energy Drink, your push for the next conquests. Kung Fu Energy Drink, master the power.
Pascal is showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She is pleased, but now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains that the wells can store many, many messages. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't upgraded your contact center yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
Iwe, ndiye ibeva mkashana kaboyo kubuturuke efikwatini tute. Makeup. Now Ishiva, inedionsenga ndiye kuchalo nda making sure at ninchita moisturize skin nimpopoka. Mbomfia Romeo glycerin. Ukupopoka chani.
Action!
Romeo for naturally pure, radiant skin.
UniTurtle Industries is the king of awards. No. Turtle Awards is all about making you the king, the queen, the winner, the champion, with trophies, cups, medals, shields, figurines, all down to quality and perfection just for you. We also produce excellent foundation stones, signage, date stamps, and company seals. For your organization, event, tournament, team, launch, contest, competition, graduation, and all sorts of awards and championships, get in touch with us on 0211-847175 or WhatsApp 09755795558. Email info@uniturtle.com. Visit the website www.uniturtle.com. Turtle Awards, a way of appreciation by UniTurtle Industries.
Grandpa, what's that?
This right here, this is for you. For him. For her. For them. For the ones on the move. And the ones who sit still. The ones up high. For the ones on holiday. This is pure. This is refreshing. This is Vatra, made for life.
Mwanamai who died. Imwe ngati simiri ndishini ndani. Ziwanga patako ni anonzanga anyway.
So mwauka kusenseni basi mkumwa mwashuwa.
Biologically, most na paper.
Can we take him for rehab?
Inapita stage yanu yoleka moba mzaka afa so chabina moba mtupi.
Ati vanakugwira chigororo.
Nina mwana huyo saenda. Ninaesa wakutaoneko mwana achiteko sometimes.
Tunanyobana na bwimotini. Watoto wanamtendela kwa imani mangalani.
Dili ulampensha. Hello.
Go through it. Are you blind? You don't know how to read?
No. I am literally upset.
So our Civic Duty Association have endorsed President Hakainde Hichilema ahead of the August 2026 election and have called on Zambians to support the UPND government for the sake of stability as well. We speak with the spokesperson of OCiDA. We're joined by Mr. Simwinji Simwinji. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on Diamond Live tonight.
Good evening. Thank you.
Well, the timing is quite interesting. A few months to go until the August general election, and you have endorsed President Hakainde Hichilema. Already, some people find this quite peculiar for an organization within the NGO space, within the civil society space, making this particular endorsement. Why did you find it imperative for you to make this announcement?
It's from the perspective of looking at what has been done by this government, the new Dawn government, comparing to where we've come from during the PF. We've realized as an organization, as a civic association, that we are on the right trajectory in terms of economic, development, economic improvement of our nation. So from that perspective, we thought it's just prudent for us to endorse the presence of Hakainde Hichilema.
Are you able to quantify what exactly you mean when you say that we are at a better place than we were under the previous administration?
We're looking at the state of affairs of our economy, the state of affairs of the national development, the level of underdevelopment, the level of destruction of the economy by our colleagues that were in power then, who happens to be the PF. And then we see what this government has endeavored to put in place to correct that situation. We were in a free fall, if you like, mode of our economy, to an extent that at international level, we were no longer regarded as an investment destination, as it were. So it's from that consideration and understanding that we feel that things are beginning to brighten, things are beginning to work for the good of the country in terms of uplifting the living standards of our people. We realize that it's not that easy. It hasn't been that easy because we coming from, if you like, for lack of proper definition or description, we coming from the doldrum of our economy, where we were in a state of hopelessness. We didn't know what will happen the next day, whether you'll be able to put even a basic meal of food on the table for the family. we reached a stage where you did not know where your next meal will come from. So it's that hopelessness state of affairs that existed at that time.
And I think it's from that perspective that I think my question comes from, because you described that what used to happen under the previous administration is what brought poverty. In fact, you describe the previous administration as having caused destruction to the economy.
Absolutely.
And we asked you tonight to quantify what you mean, because others would argue that the living conditions of our people were much more better than they are today. For example, people will say that we used to buy meal at a cheaper price, we used to buy fuel at a cheaper price, we used to buy all these commodities at a cheaper price with a broken economy. Now with the fixed economy, we are buying almost everything at a high price. And so without speaking in abstract, are you able to quantify what you mean when you say the living conditions of our people have improved than they were under the previous administration, when things have gone high today?
You seriously, you have to look at, well before PF, where were we? You look at the cost of living then, and the period that PF took over and ran the affairs of the country, we were no better than where we are today. Okay, and you must understand the fact that we are in this situation where things are looking slightly, difficult in terms of the livelihood, the cost of living for the general people, for the general, population of Zambia, especially the poor who are in the majority. You must appreciate the fact that we are where we are because of mismanagement that was, put by, that was as a result of mismanagement of the economy by the PF. So, we are in this situation majorly or mainly as a result of where we're coming from. And this government is trying by all it can to try to correct the situation that we were thrust into by the PF through its mismanagement. And to come out of this, we need to, the people must realize that it's a difficult state of affair, but we are looking at, things that have been put in place so far that are, making things, it's actually making people have a bit of hope, or rather have hope that things are beginning to look good. Okay.
When you talk about mismanagement, the Patriotic Front on the other end claim that much of the money that they borrowed went towards investment. Today, they say that you can see the flyover bridges across the city and other provinces. You could see hospitals, you can see schools, even without boasting around the increased CDF. You can see much of the things you can point at. And they say that while we are still fixing the economy, there's very few things that we can point at that the UPND have been able to say that they've been able to do. How do you respond to those claims by the Patriotic Front Party?
Those are, for me, those are misconceptions. Those are coming from people that don't understand from where we came from. Stemming from, let's begin from the time PF took over. All those projects you're talking about, hospitals, everything, roads, infrastructure, everything. You can look at what was then by MMD, which was called the Formula One. Those are the roads that were supposed to have been constructed under that project, which was undertaken by JICA. JICA was the ones that were requested or who were asked to devise a development plan in terms of infrastructure in Lusaka that was called Formula One. So if you look at the roads that were done in Lusaka during the PF time, they were designed and the money was was as a result of the effort that MMD undertook. So all those projects, most of those projects, even provincial, hospitals, provincial, infrastructure, roads, and everything, they were as a result of the effort of MMD.
Yeah, but the PF have according to your assessment, there's nothing really we can point at that the former party has done for the country.
Well, they've done a bit of projects here and there, but when you compare the destruction and the corruption that went on during that period of PF, you realize that what actually trickled to the benefit of the society, Zambian society, Zambian government as a beneficiary, it's very little. Most of the monies that were borrowed went into the pockets of individuals. So that was the reason why we found ourselves in a situation where we were dogged down by enormous debt. We were in debt trap that took a lot of effort by this government to sort out, and we are where we are. Again, let me reiterate: we are where we are because of the mismanagement of PF.
Now, Mr. Simwinji, sorry to cut you there, but as we are concluding, with this particular endorsement that you've made, and publicly so, aren't you worried that you risk losing your credibility, that you risk people thinking and assuming that you've been paid perhaps by the ruling party? As some people tend to assume, when you have opposing views, they assume that you've been paid by the opposition. When you have the same views as the ruling party, you've been paid by the ruling party. But don't you get worried that you risk being discredited by a number of stakeholders, that even if you had to give any other position going forward, people will just see you as either UPND stooges, puppets, and people who have perhaps been paid?
Not at all, unless if you not being pragmatic in terms of analyzing where we are and the kind of problems that we have undergone under the previous government. Okay, now look at the position that Oasis Forum took over Bill 7. Would you call that a position that is taken by an organization that is not biased, that's not partisan, compared to what we have taken?
But the difference, Mr. Simwinji, is that the Oasis Forum looked at a particular subject, which was Bill 7. That's what they looked at. They did not endorse a political party or a political party candidate. It was not based off a political party or a candidate. It was based off an issue. You, on the other hand, have endorsed a whole politician who is the Republican president. You've endorsed a politician. So you can't make that comparison because those are two different positions.
No, I don't think there's any difference because look at where they are today. There's this, what they've come up with called the whatever senior
Council of Elders.
The Council of Elders, Oasis Forum, and a number of NGOs or civil societies are part of that. Okay. Now, how do you call that? How do you categorize their involvement in that kind of arrangement? Are they partisan? Are they neutral? So we cannot because we actually specified why we've taken the position that we've taken. That is, endorsing.
But it's interesting you say that, because you speak of the Council of Elders. We had a press briefing where the Ministry of Information and Media Permanent Secretary, Mr. Thabo Kawana, complained that there was lack of neutrality there. So if you use it as an example, then essentially you are agreeing that there is lack of neutrality for yourself and for the same way there's lack of neutrality for the Council of Elders, isn't it?
No, not at all. I think we've been very specific on why we're taking the position that we're taking of endorsing UPND and the candidature of, HH, Mr. Hichilema. We've said, look, we have looked at, the array of, policies, the arrays of, whatever has been done towards, putting back this country into a position where it's self-sustaining. The economy is beginning to work for the benefit of the Zambian at large. So our perspective is not narrowed to politics as such. It's broader than that. We're looking at the broader, perspective of the economy, where this country is going and where we would like it to go, where the Zambian people would like this country to go. So from that point of view, we feel that, and when we've drawn a comparison, we've made a comparisons between the government that is in place now and the opposition. What are they bringing to the table, other than saying that they want to make sure that UPND goes out of
in the time that we're heading to the elections, would you consider OCiDA a neutral organization?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Would you equally give advice to the opposition to perhaps man up as we head towards the polls?
Neutrality does not mean that you cannot make a decision on the basis of objective, consideration of what is going on. Neutrality simply means you're not really, so partisan per se, but you are objective at whatever decisions you're going to, to take. So it's from that perspective that we feel that we are not partisan as such. We're doing it. We're doing what we're doing with the consideration of objectivity and to the best interest of the country.
In conclusion, we'd like to find out whether Mr. Brebna Changala is still part of OCiDA.
I'll tell you what, I'm a bit reluctant to discuss an individual, but you must say, for your information, OCiDA, Brebna Changala, for your information, he's never been in the management team of OCiDA. Never has he been in the trustee, hierarchy of OCiDA. He was just a member. But he is a man who portrays that he's the one who's driving the OCiDA. Remember the case of taking this government to UN, to USA, over things like democracy and stuff.
What about Archbishop Telesfo Mpondo?
Come again?
What about Archbishop Telesfo Mpondo?
Telesfo Mpondo actually was expelled from. He was a chairman actually after he took over from the late Simon Zukas. He's the one who was the chairman of this organization, but he's no longer the chairman because he was expelled. As for Brebna, he doesn't hold any position he's never held any position in OCiDA. So he's a man who's been hijacking the whole process of OCiDA.
All right, thank you so much for coming through. it appears now we still have two factions also of
OCiDA.
Civil society organizations, just like we have in political parties.
What a time we're in, really, in the year 2026. Like Cheswa says, I mean, certain organizations will make it big, and I guess maybe others will crumble along the way, or divisions will rock them, unfortunately, but it's just a matter of time before we see what all of this will build up to as we head into the 2026 elections in August on the 13th. This is where our show ends for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chimweka. Chilesho.
My name is Andrew Mwansa. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
I'm Cheswa. Good night.
Towers, 20 quarter, 20 5 quarter.